Hi everybody, this is the Right Geek, and I am going to be trying something new here, which is, I'm going to start what might be a series if everybody likes this, and yes, just as a warning, I am recovering from some sort of respiratory thing, so there might be a lot of coughing in this video. I apologize in advance. I don't know, maybe we can start a new cough squad here. Anyway, so I'm going to start this new series where I'm going to talk about Iron Man things, because as it turns out, I'm actually a very huge fan of Iron Man, and the purpose of this video is going to just give sort of some introductory comments on why I have become a huge Iron Man fan, and why I have interest in sharing my squee with the YouTube audience. Hopefully some of you will enjoy this. So what I have right here is I have the first Invincible Iron Man Omnibus, which is it contains the first 83 Tales of Suspense Iron Man stories. So those are the very first Iron Man stories from the 60s. And today I just wanted to make a little comment on this opening letter from Stan Lee on old Shellhead here. And the reason why I wanted to comment on this is he says something very funny at the beginning that I'm going to sort of jump off of to discuss why exactly I like this character as much as I do, to give you an idea of where I'm coming from and where the series is probably going to proceed from here. So Stan here says, for starters, let's open today's session with a riddle based on one of the most little-known facts in comics. Of all the many multifaceted heroes in the mighty Marvel Universe, who would you guess received the most fan mail from females? Take your time, I'll give you until the next paragraph. Well, since the main subject of this inevitable introduction is none other than the rakishly romantic and redoubtable Iron Man, that should provide a generous hint to speed you on your way to a triumphant answer. Right, you guessed it, Iron Man's own wealthy and handsome alter ego, Tony Stark, was the lucky, inventive genius and captain of industry, whose tons of fan mail included more female enthusiasts than any of our other dashing do-gooders. For many months, we pondered this fascinating fact in the hectic confines of the fabled Marvel bullpen, trying to figure out why Iron Man, of all our costume cavorters, would be the one to occasion such emotional enthusiasm on the part of the fairer sex. Here are two of the main theories we came up with. 1. Tony Stark's weak heart might have aroused the tender sympathies and maternal instincts of our female readers, giving them an urge to minister to him. And 2. His wealth and fame, coupled with the fact that he seemed to live a glamorous playboy existence, probably made him the living embodiment of the Mr. Right that many girls dream of. So, when I read this originally, I gotta say, I laughed because I'm in my early 40s, and growing up, I had a couple of girly interests, but I was not really that much of a girly girl. So, so hearing, first of all, that the fact that I'm in love with Iron Man means that I am playing to stereotype was kind of hilarious to me. The other thing were the theories here, and I think for me, probably the first theory is more accurate as far as arousing tender sympathies goes. But let me kind of branch off of that and talk about why I personally, this is just me speaking as one 40-year-old woman, why I got into Iron Man in the first place. I think what I enjoyed most about the character when I started reading the early comics, so this would be the Tales of Suspense and also the Volume 1 issues, is, well, let me put it this way. I am someone who is a chronic pain patient. I have a severe autoimmune condition that limits my mobility. And the point of contact, or the point where I really related to this character, was the physical challenges that the character had. So I think the weak heart is really what did it. The fact that especially early on, when the weak heart was a major issue, that basically put a countdown clock on all of his battles. I really related to and enjoyed the idea of a hero who had a built-in health-related limitation on what he could do as a hero, and that was a theme that was carried through Tales of Suspense and through Volume 1, even though they ultimately came up with solutions to the heart issues. Later on, they kind of messed with his body in some other very dramatic ways, and once again introduced to him that concept of physical limitation, the idea that basically inside the armor he was a very vulnerable human being, and specifically medically vulnerable, is something that really appealed to me as someone who is herself medically vulnerable. It made me think while reading these early issues that, well, if this person who is dealing with a heart condition, and then later on in a later story it kind of transformed to more of a neurological condition, if he could deal with that severe thing and yet still be the hero that he was in some way an inspiration for me. And then the other sort of point of personal contact for me is the fact that I come from a family where several of my extended family members have dealt with substance use issues of various kinds. And the fact that later on into Volume 1, they introduced the fact that Tony has issues with alcohol, is something that I really personally connected to as well. So those are basically the two main reasons why I grew to love Iron Man. And the character definitely goes through some pretty dramatic changes, especially as you get into the modern era. But the Tales of Suspense issues and the Volume 1 issue it established this love that hasn't really left, even with modern developments. And I would like to share just kind of that enthusiasm and that love with all of you, in the hopes that someone in the audience will be entertained and will be interested. So if you think I should continue to talk about why I love Iron Man and specific scenes or panels or issues of Iron Man that I particularly enjoyed, that particularly moved me on an emotional level, please comment below, and I will continue this series, and I appreciate you listening.